Hello everyone, Dustin Zana with Creating the Difference.
75.
Today we're going to be talking about hardness.
74.
Hardness has been a hot topic in the past
75.
year in the bowling community,
75.
so we're going to be taking a little bit of a
75.
deeper dive into
76.
some things that can affect hardness
75.
and really talk about why we need a governing body in our
75.
sport. So we're going to be looking at a reactive ball, a
75.
urethane ball, and a polyester ball. The first part of the test is to take the hardness without
75.
any treatment, and the next part
75.
is to take some hardness
75.
readings after the ball was wiped off with
76.
isopropyl alcohol. You can hear Ron
76.
saying what the hardnesses are, but we will take a look at
75.
the hardnesses on the
75.
screen once we complete the entire test.
75.
And for
74.
transparency's sake,
74.
portions of the test were split up. For example, when we were
75.
testing the no treatments,
74.
we were doing all of the no treatments at
75.
once, and then
75.
followed by all the isopropyl alcohols at once.
75.
Then all the surface treatment,
74.
and then the last test
74.
was putting oil on the needle.
74.
All of the oil on the needle tests were
74.
done at one time, so the data was not skewed for the rest of the test.
75.
So
74.
when we look at what we're doing here, and
74.
when we take a look at our first set of data,
73.
you're going to see that
74.
altering
74.
how the ball is tested
74.
or for hardness can really
74.
change the readings that you
74.
get. And
74.
that can be the difference between a ball being legal and a ball not being legal. So if we take a look at the first set of data, you can see that the average hardness for the no treatment was 75D. When the ball was wiped off with alcohol, the average was 75D. And then once we changed the surface, the hardness went down to 74.4D. Same with the lane oil on the needle. That went down even more to 74D. So you can see that there's a 1 point difference between our tests compared to the no treatment ball.
73. 71.
Next we have a urethane bowling ball.
72.
Of course, urethane has
74.
become more and more popular
73.
with bowlers over the last 5 years or so. So
73.
we're going to be doing the exact same
74.
thing as we did with the reactive ball
73.
and taking a look at how it truly affects the
71.
hardness of this bowling ball.
74. 74.
The reason we're doing these tests today is to not only
74.
gather data on
74.
how hardness can be affected,
74.
but really to understand why we have a
74.
governing body in our sport.
73.
And at the end of the day,
74.
what the governing body says is the
73.
rule. So if your durometer says your bowling ball is
73.
legal and their durometer says it is
74.
not, then
74.
the ball is illegal because
74.
their durometer says so, and they're the
74.
governing body.
70.
All we're
3.
doing here is really
73.
showing how hardness can be affected. We're not saying our
74.
durometer is the
74.
be-all, end-all. All we're doing is
75.
gathering data to show you what can happen with hardness.
74.
So for the last part of our test, just like with the
73.
reactive ball, we're putting some lane oil on the
74.
needle to see if it affects
73.
hardness. Now the goal here
73.
is to
74.
sort of replicate
74.
a bowling ball that's been used.
74.
If we have a bowling ball that has oil in it or oil on it, how would that really be affected? So for the urethane ball, you can see that the no treatment ball was actually illegal. It was 72.7D, according to our durometer. Once we wiped it off with alcohol, the hardness went to 73.9D, so it actually got 1.2 points harder. With the surface change, the hardness was 73.8, which is 1.1 points higher than the no treatment ball. And then with lane oil on the needle, the hardness went to 73.4, which is 0.7 points higher than the no treatment ball.
Ready?
Last but not least, we'll move on to the polyester bowling
89.
ball to see how the hardness can be
88.
affected by all of our tests.
88. 87.
Now, when we talk about why we need a
88.
governing body,
88.
it's important to understand
88.
that they have
88.
processes and procedures in
88.
place
88.
for doing testing like hardness. And to say that they're doing
89.
a lot of it behind closed doors and they're
89.
not transparent about it,
89.
they have an entire section on their website
89.
with standard operating procedures
89.
to show you what exactly
90.
goes on during the approval
89.
process.
89.
So when we're
89.
gathering hardness data, like I said,
89.
this is not the be-all, end-all, and nor is it
90.
the be-all, end-all for
90.
anyone that
90.
has a durometer.
89.
The governing body's durometer
90.
is what matters the most.
90.
There's the one that makes the rules.
Wrong.
So their
That's
durometer tells
89.
us if it's good or bad
91.
in terms of legal or illegal.
90. 90.
So as we're wrapping up the 1000 grit surface change
88.
testing, we're going to put some more lane oil
89.
on
88.
this bowling ball
88.
and take a final look
89.
at the data that we have gathered.
89. 89. 89. 89.
The polyester
89.
ball is now finished, so let's get some data. The average hardness of the no treatment ball was 88D. When it was wiped off with alcohol, it went up to 89.1D. The surface change made it go to 89.8D, and lane oil on the needle went to 88.7D. So let's take a look at the data side by side to really see the differences between these bowling balls. Comparing each one to the no treatment data, you can see that when we wiped the reactive ball off with alcohol, it didn't change the hardness. But when we wiped the urethane ball with the alcohol, it went up 1.2 points. Same with the polyester ball. It went up 1.1 points. And going on to the surface change, the reactive ball went down in hardness 1 point. Moving on to the urethane ball, when we changed the surface, the hardness went up 1.1 points. Same with the polyester ball. The polyester ball went to 89.8, a change in 1.8D. Finally, moving on to the lane oil, the reactive ball went down 1 point. The urethane ball went up 0.7 points, and the polyester ball went up 0.7 points. So when we take a look at this data, it's important to understand that lots of different variables can affect hardness. So if we're gathering data from our pro shop's durometer, or if we're a manufacturer that has a durometer, it's important to understand that there are a lot of different variables that can affect hardness. That's why it's important to leave these procedures into the hands of the governing body so that they can give us the true and correct answer, because they do this hundreds of thousands of times each year, so they have the most experience of what's going on. Please be respectful in the comments. Any hateful comments will be removed. And if you have any questions or need more information, be sure to check us out at ctdbowling.com. Dustin Zana with Creating the Difference. Have a great day.